guys, today we're going to be making Parker on the Porch's Zombie Kitty SnapTab. So I wanted to go ahead and get started. I've made a gray one. Let's see if I can get a better picture right here. We're going to be making this, but we're going to make a white one, and then I'm going to show you some different things you can do. So let's get started. I have tearaway stabilizer on my 5x7 hoop. I have the design up right here, and I am using a 7511 embroidery needle. I'm using the 7511 one. That's what it looks like. And the first step, let's get started. The first step is the placement stitch. Now, on the placement stitch, it really just shows you how big of a piece of fabric to cut, and it also shows you where to place it. So it doesn't matter which color thread you use because you are not going to see it. So a lot of times, well, always, what I do is I go ahead into my machine settings. I have a Baby Lock Spirit. I'm not sure what you have, but your icons should look the same. You want to find this icon. It's a needle with a plus and minus, and you're going to push that, and it gives you control of your steps and your stitches. So these with the needle that have plus and minus one, this will let you move back one stitch within a step or forward one stitch within a step. So the 10 is just 10, and the 100 is 100, and 500 is 500. So if you wanted to move back 10 stitches, you could push this and it would move back 10 stitches. Now the other thing that's on here is spools. Now the spools let you skip entire steps, and so these are stitches, the needles are stitches, and the spools are steps. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, we're on step 1, which is the placement step. I'm going to jump to the next step and show you what it is. Okay, so I did the spool once, and now we jump to step 2. Step 2 is basically the black eye of the kitty right here. So you can see that. So I'm going to pick the thread color that I want the black eye to be. So it skips switching thread one extra time if you pick the purple, because it really doesn't matter. Well, I'm going to do it in purple. It really doesn't matter what your placement stitch color is. So I always look ahead before I do my placement stitch, and I choose that color. So I'm going to jump back. This is going to jump back one step, and now you're going to be back at your placement step. So I went ahead and loaded purple, and I'm on the placement step, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch that on my stabilizer, and I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Okay guys, this is what it looks like. That's how big of fabric you want to measure to put there. And I'm going to be using this vinyl right here, and this is really cool vinyl. It's called Fluidity, and this is the white Fluidity. You can see I made this kitty with the gray Fluidity. So I'm going to go ahead, let me tell you a little bit about the material. It's smooth on the front. It kind of has a furry back, and it's pretty thick. Look how thick that is. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on there. I bought this from mypunkbroidery.com, and I will put a link in the see more details on my Facebook, on my YouTube, so you can link directly to this. I'm going to go ahead and put this on. One thing I do, if you're using thinner vinyl, like the canvas glitter is really thin. Like, let me show you this right here. If you're using something like this, it's super thin. If you're using this, then I think you're completely fine. But if you're using really thick fabric, I prefer to put water stabilizer over it. It just helps from the stitches sinking into your vinyl or your fabric. So that's what this is. It's just a plastic, and I put it over, and I only do this so it doesn't sink into this, because sometimes it helps a little bit. So here's Solvi. It's water soluble stabilizer, and the reason it's called that is because you can use water to dissolve it. But most people use this when they're making towels or making something furry, like the kitty bag that I made that has actual fur. and you use it so the stitches don't sink into the fabric. If you were doing minky or something, you definitely would want to use this. I'm using it, most people don't use it on vinyl. I'm using it on this vinyl just because it is really thick and squishy kind of. So I don't want the stitches sinking in too deep. I want this to try to hold the stitches up. So that's why I'm using it. You do not have to use it. It's completely fine. It's just a preference. So I'm gonna go ahead and stitch the next step, which is the eye. And well, it's not the eye, it's underneath the eye, the black eye portion. And I'm going to use the purple, and I will come back and show you what that looks like. This is what it looks like. It's stitched down, the purple. And now we're going to stitch the next step, which is the white of the eye in the skull. So I'm going to go ahead and run that, and I will come back and show you what that looks like. You can see that the white parts have stitched out. We're now going to go on to the next step, which is going to be to stitch the eye and the X and the scar stitches and the mouth. So I'm going to go ahead and start this, but I'm going to stop my machine after the eye, and I'm going to show you something cool that I do. These are all together. I'm going to actually change some colors, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch the eye, and then I'm going to stop my machine. So let's see. I'm going to maybe keep this rolling and show you. Okay, as soon as it moves, I hit my stop button, so it will stop the design. Now, if I don't hit that, it's going to go ahead and continue to stitch the X, and then it's going to stitch the stitches, and then it's going to stitch the mouth. I'm actually going to make the X a different color, and I'm going to play with the machine. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that I'm going to make the X. I'm going to make that this blue teal color right here. So I'm going to go ahead and switch my thread, and then I will come back and show you. And switch my thread to this tealy blue color, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch the X now. I just wanted to show you guys that just because the digitizer put all of these pieces in the same step, it doesn't mean that you can't take control of your machine and stop and start and use your plus and minus the stitches to make it what you want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and do this X in the teal, and then I'll end up stopping my machine again. So let me show you. When it stops and moves, that's when I hit my button. Okay, so now the next step we're going to do is the scarring, the stitches. I'm going to make those purple, so I'm going to switch my thread, and I'll come back and show you. I'm going to got my purple in. I'm going to go ahead and stitch that, and then I'll show you where I'm stopping it again. Okay, so I stopped it because I definitely don't want a purple mouth. So I am gonna, the last one that's connected is the mouth, so I'm gonna go ahead and switch my thread back to black, and then I'll come back and show you that. I'm just gonna go ahead and hit start again. I have my black thread in. So that's the last step in this stitch, so I don't have to hit stop. It's going to do it itself. Okay, so now it's going to go to the next step, which is gonna go ahead and be the eyes and nose of the skull, and I'm gonna keep that black, and I'm gonna go ahead and run that. Now, if you guys don't want to change all the colors, you just put your color in and it's gonna stitch all 4 things. I just wanted to let you know that you do, if you do take control of your machine, you can switch those out. So I hope that helps or gives inspiration to somebody, but if you don't want to do that or it looks like too much work, then just let it stitch out and it will be cute just the same. So I'm going to go ahead and do the eyes and I'll come back and show you that. That's what the eyes look like. So your next step is going to be step 6, and we're going to go ahead and stitch those ears, kitty ears, and the kitty nose, and I'm going to go ahead and do pink. So I switched my thread and I'm going to go ahead and stitch that. And there is the ears and the nose. Now the next step is going to stitch the detailing of the striped tail on the kitty. I'm going to keep that pink. You can switch your color if you're using something different, but I'm going to go ahead and stitch that and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Tail details are done. So we're going to go ahead and do the next step, which is basically the arms and the inside of the body. I'm going to keep that pink because I'm going to be doing the whole outline of the kitty in pink. You can change your thread right now if you want that to be a different color, but I'm going to go ahead and stitch that and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. This is what it looks like when the body's stitched out. We are on our very last step, so you can see the last step's gonna stitch the tack down line. It's gonna basically finish the entire snap tab, and you need to put your back fabric on now. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this water stabilizer off. It just kind of folds off. There's still some in there, but that's okay. I can get that off at the end. I just didn't want it around the edges because then I have to try pull it out. So the next thing we do is we just pull it off. You flip yours over. Just bring it over here for a second. You take your other fabric. I'm using the same fabric. Some people use felt on the back of their snap tabs. I'm using the same vinyl. It's going to be pretty thick, but I'm going to do it anyways. So I'm going to put that down. I'm underneath my hoop on the bottom, and then you're going to take tape. I'm just going to use Scotch tape. You just want something to hold it right here, right here, right here, and right here. Some people use painter's tape. It really doesn't matter. I'm just going to hold the corners, and then I will come back and show you what that looks like. I have it all taped on the bottom of my hoop, the underneath. I'm going to put it back on, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch the last step, and I will come back and show you what that looks like. Okay guys, I have taken the design off my hoop. This is what it looks like on the front. This is what it looks like on the back. I'm going to go ahead and take off the stabilizer. So you remove it from your hoop. And I pull this tearaway off. The reason I pull it off is because it is really hard if you just cut your design without taking the stabilizer off to get the stabilizer out. So on some designs, this white one's probably not that big of a deal because it's white, but if this was like black vinyl, when you cut, you can kind of see the white stabilizer sandwiched between the two if you look at the side of your design after it's been cut, and it's really hard to get that out if it's already been cut. It's easier just to pull the stabilizer away right away. So I go ahead and pull it off first. Now we're going to go ahead and cut this design out, and I use a few things. One, you're going to want to get a really good pair of little sharp scissors. So I have these. They're short. These are applique scissors, but it has a curve to it, and I'm actually going to, I normally don't use this on snap tabs that often, but I'm going to use it to help me to get around this curve of the tail right here. If you have a machine that doesn't automatically cut your jump stitches, I use these right here, these snips. My jump stitches are not on here because I have a Spirit, but I used to own the PE 770 and I used to have to cut all the jump stitches, so I use that. There's also these scissors right here, which are really good for cutting through really thick fabric, and it has a short edge, so it gets really good. So they're just really sharp and they're really good on many layers. So if this littler one down, if this one's not doing it, then I would use this one. But I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and I will just kind of cut to the side. And the key to cutting good is really good sharp scissors and taking your time. So I'm just going to, I put the point up to the edge. You do not want to cut any of your stitches, else you're going to have to basically throw your design away. So I get as close as I can without cutting the stitches. And I place the tip, see, I can move this, I'm putting the tip right where I want it to stop, and then I go down. I'm going to cut all this excess off because it's in my way, and then it'll be easier to get around it. Okay, so you have these tiny little corners. I'm just going to use the little tip of the scissors. And now just cut all the way around. Once you set up, you kind of want to push all the way down on your scissors. You don't want a whole bunch of small choppy movements, because then you're going to see that in your vinyl. Okay, we are almost around. Okay, now some people aren't going to want to cut this inner part around the tail, and you do not have to do that. You can, let me cut it like this and show you what it will look like, so you can do it whichever way you think looks better. Okay, let me get this ear and then I will show you. All right, so a lot of people will cut it like that, so you can see that this inner part is still left there, and it still looks really cute. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out so you can also see what it looks like cut out. So I'm going to start by going around this curve, and this is where I wanted to actually use these curved scissors, because I can get in there better and curve it with the tail. I'm gonna, if you can see. Okay. Let me get it a little cleaner with the straight scissors now. Okay, I can get it a little cleaner, but you can see that's what it looks like with it cut out. So you can make a decision on which way you'd rather have it. Now on the back, you're going to have a couple little threads here. I'm going to cut those off without cutting the little knotting that's right there, just to clean it up. So the last thing you need to do is put your cam snaps on here. So they're called cam snaps, and I'm going to show you a little bit about those. Let me get them. So I'm going to go ahead and get them, and then I'll come back. I'm missing a piece. Hold on. Okay, I am back with my snaps. So these are 20, they're size 20, and these are regular prong right there. That's the size of them. The other thing, oh wait, this one's actually the long prong. This is the size 20 as well. That's just the shape of the front, like that. This blue one is actually a long prong, and this black one is the short prong. Let me see if I can put them up to the camera so you can see the difference in them. Okay, so most people use this one. It's the size 20 and it's regular pronged. The only reason you'd want to use long prong, and I have some long, is if you use really thick vinyl like me, and I use it on the front and the back. This ends up being really thick, and these regular ones don't end up being long enough, and then they don't stay together. So I do have some long prong ones, and I'm actually going to use the long ones on this. So I just wanted to show you the difference. When you buy these, one set is 4 pieces. So you have 2 of these caps, the fronts, that come with it. And then you have, they're called male and female parts. So you have this part right here. And you also have this part right here, which fit together. So this is what you need to do this snap. So I have this tool. I actually want to get the hand press that's the really big one that has the handle that goes on your desks. I want to get one of those, but right now I have this and it works fine. It's just a little hard to use, and it comes with this poker tool. So what you're going to do is on this design, and some of them have little stitch circles that show you exactly where to put them, but I prefer, even when the designs have those, I don't stitch them because I prefer to put it where I want. The key to doing this is to just put it in the middle of these stitches, but put it high enough that it doesn't go over your design stitches. So you're going to want to put one like right there, and I'm going to want to put one like right up here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm lining up the poker tool, and I got where I want, and you just push through. So that's through, and then you go line up the top one wherever you want it, and you push that through too. So it just gives you a basic starter hole. Then you take your front and you put it on like that. It's just sticking through the hole right here, you can see. And then you could take, it doesn't matter which part, whether it be the male or the female first, it's not going to make a difference. So you put this on the back, and I'm just pushing it together. You can see that it's sticking out through there. Now you're going to take this tool, and you can see there's an inset portion right here, the black portion. That's going to be where your cap sits. So I'm going to put my cap in there, and then I'm basically just going to squeeze like this, and it's going to put it together. So now the plastic basically bent right there, and it's hooked together. So now that's on. So now you're going to do the next piece. I'm going to put it in the front. I'm going to take this piece and put it on the back. You can see that they're put together. I'm going to take the same inset piece right here and put my cap in there, and then I'm going to squeeze it. Now a lot of people like the desk one because your hand gets tired squeezing this, and the other one puts the right amount of pressure on it so they stay together a little better. Sometimes these get stuck in each other and it comes apart. So a lot of people prefer that, but it's not the cheapest item. I think it's between $200 and $300 for that table one, where this is probably like 20 bucks. So keep that in mind. So now what you're going to need, you have your SnapTab. What you're going to need is, this is a lobster clasp. This one's called like a swivel D lobster clasp. So the D refers to the fact that this is flat and it goes over. The lobster clasp, this one's a little different. This one you just push in to hook onto stuff. There's others that have a little hook right here, a little thing that sticks out, and you pull it and it opens in. This is which one I have. There's lots of them, and then these come in different lengths. Like there's a 1-inch one, which is I think bigger than this one. I think this one's littler than the 1-inch, but this is what you're going to need to get. Or you could do just a typical ring. You could put this just on the ring right here. Whichever you like. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on the D lobster clasp. You just put it on like that, and then you just snap it. And now you have a snap tab and you're completely done. There's the front, there's the back, and people use these for all sorts of things. They clip these on jacket pulls so you can pull your jacket up and down. They put these on, I put these all the time on the little zipper bags that I make in my embroidery machine. People put these on keychains. I have a couple different ones on my keychain right now. So they're super cute, super easy to do, really great gifts. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe so I can continue making these and you get notified of new ones that I make. I hope this helped you all. Thank you so much.